All right, guys, we're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. I know you're noticing there's no QR code. It's going to be at some point during the presentation, so pay attention to that. All right, so welcome everyone to our second B2B certificate of the year. We had one in the fall and again doing one in the spring. Today we're gonna have our certificate event first, and then for AMA members, we have some announcements later on. So please stick around for that as well. And today's panel is going to be moderated by Dave Martin, one of our advisors. So please a round of applause for Dave. I know he likes a round of applause. And then thank you to our partners. Today we have Cintas, Regal Rexnord, and Sherwin-Williams here with us today. Please, at the end, don't be afraid to come up to our partners. They're here because they want to hire you guys for jobs and internships. And I know that's a really big part of why they do this, obviously. They want to hire you guys. So don't be afraid, come up here, say hi and whatever you'd like to say to them. We're gonna get started very shortly. I'll hand it over to Dave then. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. I do enjoy this event an awful lot. Spend a lot of time in B2B, so I can't wait to hear what my peers have to say. So keep your questions towards the end. We'll try to save some time later on in the presentation for some Q&A from the audience. So keep in mind things that you might want to ask as we go along, and we'll get to that. For starters, though, we're going to give a few minutes for everybody to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their companies. So we are going to start with Jake, right? Jake Ewell from Regal Rexnord, and work our way down.
All right. Check 1, 2. We're good. How's it going, everyone? My name is Jake Ewell. I'm indeed from Regal Rexnord. Quick show of hands, who's ever heard of Regal Rexnord before? Actually, more than I thought, to be honest. That's all right. That's all right. By the end of the day, you'll know who we are. So I'm joined here actually by Dawson Parker and Lauren Winter as well. If they want to introduce themselves real quick.
Sure. Yep, Dawson Parker. Actually graduated from Whitewater here in 2021. Also was a part of AMA. So if you guys are a part of AMA, you guys know what you're doing. Definitely going to stand out in the crowd with that recruiting process. So good on you guys, and I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Hey everyone, my name is Lauren Winter. I'm also a UWW alum, so I graduated in May, and this is a really great opportunity for you guys to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to talking more to you guys about our company as well.
Yep. So my role at Regal Rexnord is the inside sales manager for our OEM team, or the original equipment manufacturing portion of the inside sales team. What the company does is our slogan here is we create a better tomorrow by energy efficiently converting power into motion. Which probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you right now, but what it essentially means is that we are a power and motion control company. We obviously sell B2B, business to business. Most of our items and our components work behind the scenes in manufacturing facilities, in systems. Thank you. Food and beverage, water, alternative energy, mining, medical, aerospace and defense, intralogistics. Anything that moves within a manufacturing facility has our components on it somewhere. It's stuff, again, that's very behind the scenes, not something you might know about or have heard about before. I certainly hadn't before I started with the company about 7 years ago. But it's stuff that impacts everyone in this room's day-to-day life. If anyone's drinking out of a water bottle right now, if anyone's drinking out of a can right now, if anyone enjoyed a Chris Miller Lite this past weekend, that was conveyed, that was moved, that was filled on our products. So amongst many other things, of course. So some opportunities that we have are internships in all of the divisions you see on the screen. And the leadership development program is something that specifically is that these two with me came up through, and it's a leadership and engineering program, and sales, engineering, and leadership program. We call them the SEALs. And it essentially teaches them about the products, teaches them about the company. You get a little bit of an inside look at all the different aspects of the company, and you do some time working behind the scenes on the computer, over the phone. You also get out in the field and do some shadowing in the field. I'll actually let these guys talk a little bit about that that opportunity, because it's a great opportunity. It helps you learn. It gives you a great foundation for being successful within the company, within the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I started the SEALs program in the beginning of 2023. Again, like Jake said, 6-month program. Basically, you're learning everything from industry knowledge to the products that we sell. We have 61 different brands, I believe the number is. So there's a lot of information that you can learn through the SEALs program, basically to build you up and get you ready for the actual role itself within the program. So great learning experience. Like Jake kind of alluded to, you get to go out into the field, going into a Pepsi plant. That was one of the coolest highlight experiences, getting to see the actual bottles run on the conveyors. It's kind of crazy what goes on behind the scenes that we have no idea about, just to get a simple can of Coke in our hand. Yeah, great experience and great program. And I will, if Lauren has anything additional to add.
No, I think Dawson pretty hit on the spot. It's a really great program just out of college. Like I said, I graduated in May, so it's a really great program to just get out your feet in the door, get your feet wet into the business world, and really get hands on and learn the product. Get hands on and get to go to places. I got to go to Gatorade, and that was one of the coolest experiences I've had so far in this company of seeing how all the lines are built and what goes behind the scenes. Because there's so much more that goes on than what we get to really envision when you look at Gatorade or Pepsi or Coca-Cola or Tyson Foods, all these different companies. We don't get to see the behind the scenes until you're actually in there and hands-on. So I think it's a really great program, and I would highly recommend checking it out if you are interested in this field at all.
I'll just cap it off real quick by saying, even if you know nothing about industrial manufacturing, or you have no engineering focus whatsoever, it's not a requirement. It's something that you can learn. It's part of the program that we actually teach you. So, I was actually a psychology major, definitely not an engineer, not even in, marketing or business, and still have been, I like to think, successful in the industry and at the company. So there's my spiel.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to keep moving. We're going to slide down to the other end to Sherwin-Williams, to Parker and Tommy from Sherwin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tommy Welch. I actually graduated here from UW-Whitewater as well in 2019. So I was in a very similar spot to where you guys are now today. But I'm one of the sales reps with the company here with Sherwin-Williams. I've been with Sherwin-Williams since graduating from Whitewater. And then here we have Parker.
Hey, everybody. My name is Parker Snitinsky. Unfortunately, I'm not a Whitewater alumni, but along with Tommy, I am a sales rep with the company. I've been with the company about 3.5 years, but I'll let Tommy talk a little bit about some of the numbers about our company.
So Sherwin-Williams, we are one of the world's leading manufacturer and suppliers for paint coatings, whether it's aerospace, industrial, protective marine. But overall, in just our specific division, we have had over $22 billion in sales. We have over 64,000 different employees, over 5,000 different stores and branches. We operate over in 120 plus different countries and over 136 different manufacturing and distribution centers. So I don't know if some of you are familiar with some of the product lines, such as like Krylon, the spray cans, Minwax, stains. Those are all part of our portfolio from Sherwin-Williams. So more than just paint, it's also other companies that we've acquired throughout the years.
Then I'll talk a little bit very briefly just about like kind of our management and sales training program. So both me and Tommy did what's called our MTP, or management training program. Kind of what that encompasses is about 8 weeks of what I like to call kind of onboarding, where you kind of just get your feet wet, kind of get to learn the industry a little bit. I know I went in with zero knowledge about paint whatsoever, so it is a little daunting, but they really do give you all the tools to succeed. Another one of the really nice things with Sherwin-Williams is I believe 97% of all promotions are internal. So really, as you can kind of see up here, this is just one of the many tracks that you can go on as you work your way through the company. And this really just applies to kind of our retail stores. We also do like industrial coatings, wood coatings, and pretty much anything you can look around in this room and we have some type of coating for it or we sell something for it. So there really is just almost an unlimited amount of potential with the company, and you can go into pretty much any avenue that you really would like to. And then these are just kind of some of the like local districts that we are a part of. We do have all these different programs kind of throughout the entire nation, but just kind of within the Midwest, these are the districts and kind of some of those job IDs that you can find on our careers page with the link below. And then we will pass it back off.
All right, thank you very much for the introductions. We've got one left, Cintas here in the middle. We've got David and Denise from Cintas with us.
I'm Denise Kajawa. I am the Human Resource Manager 2 for Franklin, Wisconsin, part of the Uniform Division for Cintas. And I've been with the company for just under a year right now. But I can definitely tell you that Cintas brings you the jungle gym for your career path. And I'm going to have you talk to Dave a little bit.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Dave Loomis. I'm the market sales manager at our Franklin, Wisconsin location. Jungle Gym for sure. I'll give you my career story. So in July, I'll be 5 years with Cintas, and this will be my fourth role in 5 years. So started as an outside sales rep, was moved over to a service manager, and then a key account manager, and then back to market sales manager September of last year. So that's one of the great things about Cintas is there's so many different career paths that you can take, which is very exciting to be a part of. But not as impressive as these guys over here, but we do have 43,000 employees. We call them partners. Over 400 locations across the United States as well, too. Fortune 500 company. We've been publicly traded for 40 years now, since 1983. And it's pretty exciting too. The stock exchange, the last 10 years, we're up 960% on our stock, which is just absolutely great to be a part of when you have that 401k package. So, and then, 7.85 billion for FY22. We just had our FY23 numbers and we did 8.8 billion. And straight from our CEO's mouth, we're looking to double the size of our rental division in the next 10 years. And when you look at that stock forecast too, it's definitely something to be excited about for sure, is that long-term growth. And then, this is just a map here of all of our different locations that we have. So they're spread out all across the United States. I started my career in Illinois. Still currently taking that fun commute up here with a 10-month-old baby at home. So really loving that right now. But am looking to move up here. But that's one of the nice things about Cintas. Anywhere you want to take your career, you can definitely take advantage of that. We also have, as Denise said, our rental division, which is uniforms, facility products. And then we also have first aid and safety. And then we have fire protection as well. So I like to explain Cintas as the biggest company you've never heard of. When you guys all go home, you're going to see Cintas trucks everywhere now, which is my experience when I got hired on. You want to talk about
Yeah, so we have a couple of different programs that we do. We have our MT or management trainee program. That's an intensive course. You're not going to get an experience like this at a lot of companies. You're going to actually perform every single function in the company. There's no better way to learn how to take and be a leader than actually participating and actually doing the job. So you'll start out and you'll do your production rotation. You'll spend about 6 months there. You'll learn about the company as well. Then you'll spend some time in service, and then you'll ultimately end up in sales. Most of our MTs end up staying in our sales roles and actually starting their career there until they transition into another role. They could decide, I really gravitated towards production and I really want to do that. Wanted to take and go more into the service end, or even something in the operations. Our intern program is shorter. It's about 10 weeks. And in that time, you spend time learning about the company, getting it into learning that we're actually from some circus folks. So not everyone can say that they work for a company that started because of that. You'll learn everything about the service team, the sales teams, production, And then you'll end up with a capstone project that you can actually use for homework later on, probably. So that's a great thing too. And you actually get to work one-on-one and working with the leaders every day. So a typical path, like we said, we don't have a career ladder. It's a jungle gym. You kind of move around, but it is not uncommon within 5 to 10 years. If you go through the MT program, you're actually running a full facility as a general manager or moving on into another corporate role. And so you can contact Dory. She is our campus talent acquisition manager. She has a wealth of knowledge about Cintas and as an organization. Otherwise, come and talk to Dave and I will love to stick around and talk to you guys more. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for the introductions. Some interesting companies, right? David made a really interesting point. This is probably the largest company you've never heard of. This happens in the business to business field. These are big companies, and a lot of this work goes on in the background that we never hear of. So we're kind of going to start there. I'm actually going to start with Sherwin-Williams down on the end with Tommy down on the end. Talk to us a little bit about, because you guys have both sides, the business to business and the business to consumer side. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between B2B and B2C.
Yeah, so Sherwin-Williams, we have multiple retail locations, as you saw in the presentation there. So we have two different segments, which we spoke on here just shortly, not long ago, but about 75% of our business is business to business sales. And then the other 25% is actually business to consumer. So oftentimes when we're dealing with the business to consumer, it's all in our retail locations. So anything that you see, if it's a homeowner that's coming in to repaint their living room or repaint the exterior of their house, we're primarily dealing with that segment or that aspect of the business. This focus, we're primarily focusing on color, design, and getting premium products inside of the consumer's hands. So more of the residential. So if your parents are looking to repaint their house or an area of their house, that's primarily our business to consumer segment. When it comes to our business to business segment, which is the largest chunk of our industry, we have quite a few segments. I mean, personally, I deal with the multifamily hospitality segments, so consisting of apartments, senior living facilities, warehouses. You could even be warehouses like Regal, and then also Cintas. So, I mean, we supply anything from commercial painters to commercial contractors. Parker deals with the residential repaint side. So what typically is hired for cabinet makers, wood finishers, or just even general contractors or painters that are looking to paint for exterior homes. So that is primarily the biggest portion of our business and what drives majority of the sales for our business as well.
Parker, did you want to, you good?
I think you hit it pretty good.
Okay, thank you, Tommy, very much. I intentionally started with them because Sherwin obviously has both the B2B and the B2C side, but I'm curious to the rest of you, based on your career tracks and what you've seen at your individual companies, biggest differences between B2B and B2C.
We'll go ahead and kick it off. So yeah, with the role on my side, the market sales manager, so we're all B2B 100%. You know, what I think the big difference of that B2B and the B2C, right, is the sales reps, like that's the driver for us. Like that is what's out there. That's what's going to get these deals, hitting the canvases, right? We are the marketing team. Like we're the ones going door to door, you know, cold calling, walking in places, getting people set up for accounts. You know, and we drive that activity. So, you know, we get very creative with the marketing side too. You know, because we're not the only company that does what we do. We have a long list of competitors. So, you know, when we're driving that B2B efforts, it's about standing out. So, finding ways to be creative in front of customers, right? You know, we're walking in unannounced off the street without an appointment a lot of the times. You have to quickly be able to grab their attention before they tell you to leave, right? So, yeah, I think when I think of the B2B, I just think it's the sales team that's the driver there.
Yeah, and as far as differences between B2B and B2C, I mean, you're not going to see a commercial while you're watching TV for Regal Rexnord. You know, there's no point to that. You're not buying the products that we're selling. It's to the other businesses. And it's interesting to see as well that when you're a large player in a certain industry, you're doing that cold calling, you're doing the knocking on doors, but a lot of it is also is account management. You're basically acting as what we like to call a trusted advisor. The people you're dealing with, the people that you're selling to, they're also experts. They also know what they're talking about. It's not, you can't just throw out a broad sweeping statements, because they know what's going on. They know what you're selling, and they know how it works within their industrial manufacturing systems. So you do have to be a little more buttoned up, a little more highly technical, ready to be, again, a trusted advisor. You do that by learning the products, learning the industries, and then you build that credibility with these when you're speaking to these businesses, by knowing, again, basically proving that you know what you're talking about. Whereas I think to an end user, to a customer, you can kind of make more flashy advertisements. It can be more broad sweeping statements. Here, business to business, you're going to get little pushback, and you're going to need to explain yourself, and you're going to have a little more ammo as far as when it comes to selling. You guys want to add anything?
Yeah, I think at its most basic level, B2C is more so that you're drawing on their emotions, whereas business to business, you're looking for that longer relationship management style of sale that you're trying to accomplish over multiple years. Whereas, like kind of Jake how alluded to, is like a commercial for a can of Coke or something like that. B2C mainly, it's that emotion kind of heartthrob that you're pulling on, whereas B2B is more so very logistical and just more relationship management, essentially, is what the big difference that I would say is between the two.
Yeah, I think they both made some really good points. I like to think that, with B2C, you go to Nike or you go to Adidas or you go to these retail shops, and it's a lot of one-offs within this industry that we work in. It's a lot of building those relationships, and you're, being, like Jake said, that trusted advisor, and you're expecting them to come back for a continuous order of our product. They're not coming to just do a one-off, and you're never gonna, build that relationship and build that trust. And, you're there to help them win as much as they are to help you win as well in this type of business.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that too. The way Cintas approaches it is that we are building a better workday for our customers every day. So we're building that relationship for the long term. We're not going in and doing a quick, we're there to solve their problems and provide the solutions. So I think that's really what makes it a difference.
I'll just add, you have to be really strategic about it. You can be working on deals that are, as Austin mentioned, years in the making, and these are large deals. I mean, multi-million-dollar deals potentially. So you do have to be strategic about how you go about that sale. It's not a quick sale. If you're not a used car salesman in this, this business B2B industry, you got to really plan how you're going to both make that sale, fulfill your promise to the customer, and maintain that relationship, as I think everyone's really alluded to.
Thank you very much. Kind of on the same or on a similar strain of thought, right? Like the salesperson, critical in the B2B world, right? Like the linchpin. However, talk a little bit about the marketing efforts of your individual organizations, that step of brand recognition, awareness, in lieu of, hey, I can't run a commercial for Regal Rexnord. What do we do?
Yeah, so multiple different avenues. Social media, it's still obviously it's a pertinent way to do it. LinkedIn, something as simple as Google Ads. Essentially, I mean, I know you want the marketing side, but really it's the salespeople that I'm a salesperson, so I am partial to that. But multiple different avenues. I think social media is a big one, and targeted advertising as well. Expo centers and trade shows. Trade shows are a big one. Yep, expo centers and trade shows. You get customers. A trade show is a chance for folks within that industry to come. Everyone who's in that industry, so they get a chance to kind of nerd out within that given industry, which someone outside of it probably doesn't care about at all. But that's when everyone gets together and says, "This is what we do every day." So you go to a trade show, everyone's walking around. You might see some familiar faces that you met over the years, and everyone has a chance, the companies, if they're presenting at the trade show, has a chance to showcase their new products, their tried and true products, and that's actually a really big one as well.
All right, fantastic. Either Cintas or Sherwin-Williams, marketing efforts as an introduction to sales or in addition to sales, how do we get our name out there?
I'm going to start out just by the business to consumer aspect for our marketing efforts. So, I mean, in terms of the consumer aspect, especially with our retail locations, a lot of times it's homeowners or DIY, do-it-yourselfers that are coming in because one, they have a project they want to do, or our biggest time, I guess, during COVID was everyone was at home and the biggest thing they wanted to do was paint their walls. So the biggest thing is for the marketing techniques, a lot of it for the business to consumer was consisting of social media and television advertising. So that's the biggest heavy hitter that we see on our end for the business to consumer. Parker and I really don't handle the business to consumer aspect of it. We did at one point in time when we were both store managers at our store locations. And we do internal efforts in terms of marketing processes. So at the end of the day, we were pretty much the runners of our own stores, I guess you could say. So we were responsible for coming up with new marketing techniques and really building our own marketing plan while also implementing some of the resources provided through the company. Some examples would be different color displays, doing different sales promotions. Like most recently, we had what we call our blue bucket sale, which is 35% off supplies for homeowners and contractors. But biggest things we would do is post to social media to at least market the sale that's coming up, and we'd build different types of displays to help promote the sale that was coming up. In terms of business to business, I mean, Parker and I are the marketing and sales people ourselves. So our full responsibility is to grow our territory, grow the accounts, and also help our customer base, especially these contractors, residential repainters, commercial contractors, really get their name out there and help grow their business. So at the end of the day, we're almost a business. At the end of the day, we are a business partner and helps in terms of helping someone grow their business, because challenges could be in terms of hiring new employees, trying to get their brand recognition out there. So not only are we trying to market Sherwin-Williams as the paint provider for these companies, we're also trying to help grow the brand recognition through the tools and resources, whether it's our social media platforms, our Pro Plus platform, which is our online application platform, to help one, save money, and then keep costs down, and then also grow their business so that they get the proper recognition.
And then kind of just to go with Tommy a little on the like business to business side. So kind of just like a real world example that's pretty recent for us is so about 60% of contractors in the trades are speak Spanish as their primary language. So actually the store that I left about 6 months ago just got converted into a Spanish speaking store. So all of our signage is in Spanish, all of our employees are bilingual. So even just as far as like marketing, part of that being like us seeing that is like a target market for us, and it's a ever growing market where even on like I've seen it on YouTube, we have Spanish ads, I've seen them on TV. So now that is all kind of done from our corporate marketing, but then it does come down to like me, kind of how Tommy said, then that ends up being our job where we kind of convey all this info, make sure all of our accounts are aware, whether it's promotions, if someone is predominantly Spanish speaking, that we have a store that is really meant to specifically service them. But really at the end of the day, our job is kind of to partner with these businesses and really help them grow through brand recognition, and then also kind of help them with their own personal marketing as well.
Denise?
Yeah, definitely what we do is also make sure that we're leveraging and having our customers use as many of our services as possible. So making sure that we're giving high levels of customer service every single encounter. Everybody at Cintas, every partner helps to sell us every day, and making sure that our SSRs, which is our service sales representatives that are actually the face of our company for most of our customers, making sure that they're providing the right service every day, working in tandem with our sales department to leverage those sales and build those businesses and build that brand. with our customers, because it's much easier to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. And your customers are your best referral source.
A little bit more on what Denise said, and you can start or we can come back to you, but you mentioned keeping a customer, repeat sales much easier than finding a new customer. So customer loyalty development, customer retention, absolutely key for all of you. When we acquire a new customer, how do we keep them? What does the retention look like? What do our efforts look like to make those return purchases?
Yeah, I can touch on that coming from the service side with Cintas as well. So when we sign up an account, we have what's called a TOT, which is a transition of trust. And that is the single most important experience that we have when we set up this account, is that first install. So we're a weekly service that we provide to the customers. That first one is our first chance, right? It's our first impression. So with that, we have, what new welcome packets that walk them through the program. We have to have the sales rep there. We usually have somebody from the service side there as well. We'll even bring a little small gift sometimes for the customer. We make it a big deal. We walk them through the program, make sure they're set up, answer all their questions. And then what we do too, so every Monday morning, we have what's called an onboarding meeting, where we have the entire location leadership team come in. It's a meeting led by myself, and we're actually talking about accounts that installed the prior week. And we're making sure, and we're talking about how we wowed that experience and how we made a super important impact. One thing that's really cool at Cintas too, that really helped with the retention. As I said, my career path, I was a key account manager. That's a brand new role that Cintas created last year, that never existed in almost being 100 years in business. And that is a role before we had our service managers were over all of our drivers and then the customers as well. Where we saw that it was a choice that they had to make, the service managers, of, hey, I either have to take care of the driver or the customer here. Now we split it where we have that account manager role that's directly over the customer. So they're usually at these TOTs as well. And we have a representative for them that builds and maintains that relationship. But it all starts with that transition of trust on that first day of service.
Very good. Jake?
Yeah, little different for Regal Rexnord, I would say. We have such a broad footprint within the industry that it's very rare you'll come across a customer that isn't using some sort of one of our components in some capacity or hasn't come across one of our 62 brands now at some point. So setting them up and getting them a new customer, it's kind of about making sure they're still getting the best service out of what they're currently using out of ours, but also, again, being that trusted advisor to help them find further products that can enhance their process and their equipment and their systems. For example, someone comes to you and says, I'm using this competitor of yours and we're using this item and it keeps failing. Instead of just interchanging that out for a similar item, you might talk to them about what's going on. Why is that failing? You can talk to them about the actual solution to their problem. So really it's about service. It's about building that trust. And, if it's a new customer, it's about delivering, especially on whatever you did to get them to become a new customer. You better deliver on whatever that was, because that's their first experience with you as a new customer.
Fantastic. Parker, Tommy?
Yeah, so kind of similar with both of them in different ways. But so kind of like just if me or Tommy was to open an account, we kind of go through an onboarding process with any of our businesses. So that's basically takes over, I think, 6 weeks where we do kind of like a weekly touch point with that business or contractor, or kind of getting them familiar with our various tools. Kind of like we had previously mentioned, we can help them with marketing. Usually one of the big drivers is we give them a nice little coupon book called our red carpet book. So nothing really gets people buying more than getting them some free money back in their pockets. But really through that first initial 6 weeks, just trying to find solutions to their issues, not necessarily presenting a solution, but making sure we kind of really understand how we can help them. So not maybe pushing one service on them if it isn't really going to help them, but really trying to unpack their business and see what kind of some of their needs are throughout that various process. And then,
Yeah. I mean, in terms of any new customer, I mean, you can look at it just like dating. You go on a first date, you don't know much about the person, or you want to make a good impression. So at the end of the day, you're trying to know as much about them as they're trying to know as much about you. So really, I mean, in our industry, Most of the times customers are familiar with some of the products, some of the tools, or they might not be familiar at all. So we go through what we call as a customer focused selling process, which ultimately goes into different buying stages. So it's a customer that's in a certain stage of discover, buy, use, or validate. That's pretty much our process on how far along they are with their business account. But in terms of like any new account, like Parker mentioned here, we typically go through an onboarding process. Our sales excellence team usually provides us with like a Salesforce snapshot of areas and next best actions. And basically, it's important to keep the daily or the weekly touches. So at least keeping in contact within that first month. Whether it's providing the red carpet experience where you're inviting them into the store, giving them a tour of the store, meeting the store staff. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be servicing out of not just that one store, but they're also going to be getting service out of the 36, 37 different stores that we have in the Milwaukee area. But really at the end of the day, I would say for just any new customer, it's just keeping that sense of trust, finding the value link and what's important to them rather than solution-based selling, because you'd hate to get a product into someone's hands or a resource or a tool in someone's hands and it's not the tool that they're actually looking for. So I think that those first few weeks of the new customers or new accounts that we have is finding out what's important to them, learning what challenges they face with a different vendor or a different product, and then ultimately coming up with a plan to provide these tools and resources. So I always just kind of look at it as like, hey, this is a first date. You're trying to get to know as much about that person as possible. But I think that's the easiest analogy you could possibly use for a new customer.
Starting long-term relationships. Well, thank you very much. We're going to shift gears a little bit. There's been a lot of talk in the news and in the media of generative AI and technological jumps forward. Take some time and talk to us a little bit about your organization's use of technology, whether it's out-facing marketing, website, e-com, or in-facing CRM software, internal support for your salespeople a little bit. What's working and what do you see on the horizon?
I'll kick it off. Well, let's start with in-facing. Yeah, it's really important to have a good CRM system and good internal systems. If your company internally is disorganized and can't keep things straight, that's gonna translate to the customer. So our company has invested in Salesforce, as everyone I'm sure has heard of. So we use Salesforce, and we've grown that across the company wide over the past few years, and it's a fantastic product. So it's a really useful tool in order to help you interface with your customer and really stay organized. I like to say that, when it comes to sales, people think that you just, as long as you're schmoozing and you're wheeling and dealing, you're going to be a good salesperson. It's actually being organized is huge. You'd be surprised. I'm not even that organized, but I've worked on it because being organized is huge. So CRM systems help you organize quite a bit. They're essential. And then when it comes to out-facing, Dave touched on it, but e-commerce is a big one. If you can lower the transactions that your customer service teams are doing, or just transactional type of stuff, a purchase order that's coming in that they have to take time to input, if you can get that to an online transaction, that's a win for everyone. And it goes back to the marketing too. If the customer can go online and find things that they would otherwise call in to ask about, or if they can go and they can actually play around with the products and we call configure, or kind of build their own products and take a look at things. Once they're that far into the process, it's a good chance you're going to end up getting a sale out of that. So those tools are very important, and I know our company continues to invest in them heavily. When it comes to AI, still experimenting with it a bit as a company, but I foresee it being potentially used in, as you see when you're talking to like virtual assistants online, things like that. It's a good way to use AI. I will say, as a salesperson, it kind of the AI being out there kind of makes you up your game a little bit. You can't just be sending emails. I'll send 10 emails today. I'll send 20 emails today. Oh, we can get AI to do that now. So as a salesperson, it makes you say, all right, I better pick up the phone. I better go out there and knock on some doors. So it's a big tool, and I think it's beneficial all around. It's going to only be more implemented.
Very good, Jake. Thank you. David?
Yeah. So we for our CRM we use Microsoft Dynamics, and we've had a lot of new innovations that we've had to that over the past couple of years. One of the biggest ones is Zoom Info that links directly with our CRM, where we can identify decision makers, get their information right there. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is now integrated in our CRM as well too. But kind of to his point as well, CRMs are fantastic tools, but they're only as good as the driver behind it. So, that's something I tell my team all the time is, you have to enter the right information in there. You have to really own that, and make sure that that's up to date. In terms of, our e-commerce, so we actually just launched a new platform called My Cintas, which we saw the need with our customers where they want easier, access to adding products, services, reaching out to people. So we actually just launched My Cintas. It's an online portal that customers get. It's their own unique code and website that they get within that, and they could view their invoices. They could actually shop all of our products as well too, add them right to the account. You can send messages directly to your driver. And we also are launching in summer here our catalog division on there as well too. Another avenue with Cintas we have for direct purchase where they can actually go on and order that stuff as well. So something we invested in just to make the customer experience, like our whole mantra right now is customer obsession. That's literally what we talk about day in and day out. And how we can make that customer experience better. So giving them that online portal is just very easy. Going back to the transition of trust, we're walking the customers through, make sure they're set up for that. They know how to use it. Another piece of technology that we invested in is called Smart Truck. It's essentially a GPS system. We have one of the largest fleets in North America, and we invested in every truck to have this. And what it does, it routes their day, and we actually have software integrated into it that can optimize the route. So we don't have one driver crossing paths with another one. All that allows us to be more efficient. We're trying to get our net emissions zero by 2050, all electric fleet. So we're looking to be more efficient. When we're more efficient, we can deliver the product to the customers, more inexpensive, and we continue to serve them for the long term. So that's a couple things that we invested in.
Another thing that we did after the Cintas, we actually started to make sure that we were functioning well as a company internally. So we went through all of our production transformation, then we moved into service. And so now it's going more to the customer and customers with the catalog transformation and the My Cintas.
All right, fantastic. Tommy, you want to talk on this one a little bit? I know you guys have some unique technologies.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of unique technology. I would say we have almost too much unique technology to the point where there's not just one tool or resource that we utilize on a day-to-day basis. We probably have, I don't know, over 60 or 70 different digital tools or resources that we can use for our CRM systems or databases. I guess I'll start with like the outward facing tools and resources. So very similar to the My Cintas, we have what we call Pro Plus. That's our online procurement e-commerce platform system. Ultimately, it's an online website or an application that's able to be used. But from there, it's basically allowing transparency for our customers, whether it's homeowners or contractors, to be able to view, one, their pricing structure, because that's probably the biggest thing that we get on a day-to-day basis is, hey, what's our price? And so, one, it takes away time from our day because then we have to go in to look at the different pricing structures that are for the customers, whereas they have it at their fingertips. But also there's different tools that are embedded into the platform itself. So in terms of bidding tools for helping customers secure contracts, view color history, view previous invoices, make payments online. I always like to say it's almost like a paint version of Amazon, the Amazon app. But in terms of any AI that's being used, we just actually released a new version of our color visualizer app that's able to help primarily the residential and DIY aspect of it to take a photo of an area, whether it's this room here, and ultimately AI is going to be able to capture the colors that are embedded into the photo, and they're able to help suggest different colors that would help flow together that are complementary to each other. But that's a very minor portion of it in terms of AI. Going back to our Pro Plus systems, we have virtual assistants that we're also focusing on the Spanish speaking portion for for our business to business customer base, because that is one of our heaviest industries or heaviest segments that we deal with. So making sure that we can keep contact and have clear communication and transparency with those customers is going to be crucial to the growth of our business. In terms of, we have quite a bit of continuous improvement. We're always looking to better ourselves in terms of our customer relationship management. So we use a very similar CRM system such as Salesforce, but it's actually an internal process by our sales excellence team. So everything that's created for Sherwin-Williams is all internal. So we call it SureLink, and ultimately there we're able to help qualify our customers and be able to use generated call lists for that week to be able to better make more calls at the end of the day that are suitable to those customers after filling out preferences in terms of how many contractors or how many painters do they have, what is their sales potential, what are their hobbies and interests outside of work. It also shows increases and decreases in volume. There's just too many aspects to go with it. I guess I'll let Parker take the rest of here and see if he has any other ideas.
Yeah, so kind of how Tommy had just mentioned, SureLink being kind of like our internal CRM process. So even right now, Sherwin-Williams is going through the process of basically they're coming out with a new platform for us, which I believe is called Insight. And basically it's going to take that SureLink and almost condense it and streamline it a lot better. Kind of how Tommy had said, we are almost at a point where we have too many digital tools. This new platform, which we've kind of had the chance to mess around and play with, is like way more streamlined where we can access all this information kind of at one central hub for each account. So we're not going back tool to tool. So that'll be one that once that comes out here, I believe by the fourth quarter, we've had a lot of customers who are actually already pretty excited for it. And then even like in our stores, for example, with technology, if you could ask anyone who's been with the company for 20 plus years, our point of sale system is still the exact same. Like our CEO always jokes that he can still make an order because nothing's changed in the last 25 years. So even this year, I know all of our stores, I think by the end of the second quarter, 25% of them will have a new point of sale system. I think by the end of the year, they want 90 to 100% of our stores. So Sherwin really just constantly is seeing that technology is just ever evolving and is just going to continuously be present for customers and contractors. So they're just continuously investing in it. Kind of how Tommy had mentioned, they are experimenting with AI in a couple different areas. But I know that's one kind of as time progresses, we'll just kind of see how that plays out for the company.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much.
I'll just add real quick. You might not know this yet, but if it's not logged in the CRM, it didn't happen.
Exactly. We'll talk after. So I want to jump to Dawson and Lauren, and then probably down to Parker for this next one. What early in your career at this point, what surprises you the most about working in B2B sales?
I would say
Or maybe what was the most unexpected, I suppose.
the thing that surprised me the most / unexpected was everybody's still human beings at the end of the day, you know, and you're talking to these big, sometimes multi-billion-dollar businesses, but you're still on that person-to-person basis. And as you begin to develop that relationship, it's almost just like you're calling up a friend on the phone when you're trying to make that sale. The better you can build that relationship and maybe not necessarily even talk business, but just talk to them like they're a normal person, just making sure that you can build that relationship. That's the best way that I've seen to generate sales, is always not having to be as transactional, more so building that personal relationship with them as well. That was one of the big things that kind of caught me off guard and realized that was a good aspect to have in the sales world. So, yeah, I'd say that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think I can agree to that as well. I think, like I'll be talking to just a customer today and he asked me who my favorite football team was, or just talking about football and, favorite music, where do you like to go for fun? And just, you're really building those relationships rather than just talking business all the time. I think that was kind of the thing that really set in for me, of how you could just talk to, without the title, they are just human beings, like Dawson said. So I think that was kind of the biggest hit for me, was just, it's not always just about business, but it's also getting to know them and building that trust and that relationship with them as well.
And then even going off of some of those points, one of the big things I found, whether it's like very small contractors or businesses all the way up to $1 million ones, is at the end of the day, they're all driven by like whether you want to call it profits, revenue, or just money in their pocket, and ways that you can help them grow their business, help increase profits are things that they're always open to learning. And kind of, I think it was mentioned that sometimes people in the sales world just get so transactional where they're just trying to push something or sell something, where if you get to learn about their business, kind of talk, just I call it shaker talk, where you're not really talking business, you're talking just trying to learn about them as a person, their interests, and then you can kind of start unpacking maybe areas that they struggle with in their business. And if you can kind of show them different ways that can maybe help them take their family on another vacation at the end of the year because you helped with some profits or revenue for the year, that long-term relationships just continue to build, and that just trickles with every different account that we deal with.
Fantastic. Tommy, did you want to touch on this one at all?
Just bouncing off what Parker said. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, even what everyone else has said too, at the end of the day, everyone's a human being. The work is just one portion of their life. It's not their entire life. So they do have a life outside their normal job, especially when they're working for another business or they're operating their own business. But at the end of the day, like if you're able to open up those avenues and get those talking points and the sense of trustworthy, and they're able to actually communicate with you and you almost feel like you're talking to a friend, you're going to open up multiple avenues in terms of, hey, like, I know this is important to you. You want to reach this amount of dollars in revenue this year. Why? And then it could be, well, I just want to make $1 million this year in revenue, or I want to set up my daughter to go buy a house, whatever it may be. But yeah, just speaking off the shaker talk, I think what's interesting to me, especially because we have the two different segments, business to consumer and business to business. At the business to consumer level, the customers are coming in to see us at the retail setting, whereas the business to business focus, especially in our roles as sales reps, is it's a very interesting change in terms of you have to go out and find out and start fresh of what's important to them. So you're almost starting from scratch, and at the end of the day, you almost have to build that credibility and sense of trustworthy for them to, one, communicate with you, and then two, to buy from you. So I think that was the biggest obstacle when I first started the role, was just you're the driver of your own seat, and at the end of the day, if you can build that trust and that sense of rapport, it'll take you a long way.
Very good. Now I want to jump over to Jake and David. A little bit farther along in your career, teams that report up to you, what do you give as advice to new sellers, new hires?
Start this one off. Yeah, no, I love this question because you get this a lot, right? When we have new reps come in and, you know, we're in commissions, sales is commissions, right? So everyone wants to make more money. You know, and the advice I give them is, with this job, you have to focus on the fundamentals and you have to focus on the process of the job, right? It's very easy to say, hey, my goal is to sell X amount, right? That's the outcome. But what are the steps? What are the action items you can do today that will get you to that, right? So I tell them always, like, you know, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. The guy would show up 4 to 6 hours before a game and he'd be shooting free throws, right? Like the most elementary part of the basketball game, doing layups. And he's focusing on the fundamentals. So, you know, working on those fundamentals, focusing on the process, because what happens when you do the things today, right? Then you start to build up, right? What happens then is you win the day, right? And then what happens when you start winning the days? You start winning the weeks. And when you start winning the weeks, you win the months. When you start winning the months, you start winning the years. And if you want a stress-free sales career, it's consistency, right? It's not the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs and a rock star month and a terrible month. It's that consistency, and it all starts with winning the day. So when I'm talking to my team, it's sitting down, hey, what's the most productive thing we can do today that we can build off of and that we can continue to do? Focus on those inputs, the process, and the results take care of themselves. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, early on in my career, I used to call in the rankings. I would always call the number one rep every single quarter. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's the secret sauce, right? What secret shake are you drinking over there? And it was funny. It was nothing, right? It was literally, they were running the play, we call it. They were doing the activities daily it was nothing that I didn't know, right? They were just executing it at a high level. So I thought that's very interesting. And I tell my team too, I'm like, hey, call any top rep we have in the company. And they're not going to tell you that there's a secret sauce for success, right? They're going to say, hey, I'm focusing on the inputs that will get me to those results. So that's the piece of advice I would give.
Yeah, I have a couple of things which kind of piggyback off that, or at least go hand in hand. I'm gonna go back to that being strategic and organized. So the part about being strategic is you don't want to be busy just for the sake of being busy. You can say, "Oh, I had a busy day. I made a bunch of calls. I answered a bunch of emails." Okay, were they productive calls? Were they to the right people? Were they to the right customers? Did you get through to one of your top customers, to a decision maker, or were you on the phone with someone who's the administrative assistant? That's nice, but you want to get to the right. You want productive calls, and that's where being strategic comes into play. It's kind of like you don't want to just sell with the shotgun blasts. You want to be a sniper, right? You want to be, where would I need to spend my time? You can very easily, you'd be surprised, you can be putting out fires all day and the day will go by like that. And you realize, I didn't make a single call to one of my top 5 customers today. Then you might go look and say, who did I spend my time with? Oh, I helped this person out. Great, that's good that you helped them out. They brought in $2,000 of revenue last year. Probably could have passed that one off, right? Now you want to help, you want to be helpful, but you want to be strategic as well. So being strategic and being organized. And the last one is simple: is just pick up the freaking phone. A lot can be accomplished by picking up the phone. You'd be shocked how often I'll get forwarded something in an email that's saying, we can't figure this out. It's been going back and forth for weeks. I mean weeks. And we're not sure what the issue is, and we can't seem to, come to consensus. Did you call him? Well, I sent him this email. It's like, did you call him? Well, then we traded these emails here. Did you call them? And often the answer is no. And so often they say, yeah, I called them. We got to figure it out. Oh, how long did that take? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? So, don't get me wrong. I'm a millennial. So if I get a phone from a call from an unknown number, I'm not picking that up. But pick up the dang phone. It still has value.
All right, thank you. We're running short on time, but I do have time for at least one question from out here from you guys.
Is there like a particular moment in your career that like made you think that you made the right decision about getting into your particular field?
You get that first commission check. It's a pretty good moment. There are others, but I'm not gonna lie. It's sales. That's part of it. It's part of the driver. It's kind of an entrepreneurial kind of mentality you got to have. Owning your own territory, owning your customers, and you need to have that drive to go, instead of just doing that transactional stuff every day. You want to go out and get it. To be honest, besides just the money, but when you do close a big sale, especially one you've been working on for maybe a couple months, maybe a couple weeks, maybe around a year or more, that's a dang good feeling. It's finally getting that PO, purchase order. It's nice. That's one of those. It kind of clicks. You're like, all right.
But just to kind of piggyback off that almost, the biggest thing for me that allowed me to be grateful that I was kind of, I guess I would say, like, chose sales. You're on the sales floor, so you're surrounded by other sellers, right? And I can fortunately say that everyone at Regal Rexnord on the sales floor is truly a fantastic person, and I like everybody on the sales floor. We're all kind of one big family, and we have a great relationship with each other, both in the office and if we're going out for drinks after work in Milwaukee. We're only a 5-minute walk from the public market, so it's great location for us to go and do our business in the office and then go have fun outside of the office as well. So, and then I don't want to bring it back to money, but that commission check is very nice. You don't get that in any other profession.
Yeah, I think they both made some really good points. I think if you had asked me about a year ago, when I'm graduating, walking down the stage, if you had asked me like, hey, did you ever think you're going to be in sales? I probably would have said no. I probably would have stayed far away from it. But I'm really happy that I did. I think I love that the challenges that it brings, it's not me doing very repetitive work. It's something new every day. There's always new challenges that come. And I love helping my customers. I love talking to them on the phone, getting to know them, and then, having the support that I have on the floor is amazing. Being new to this role, it's so nice to have someone next to me to be like, "Hey, can you help me out with this real quick?" It's so nice to have that too. So I think just it keeps something new every day, and I love the challenges that it brings, and it makes me better and allows me to learn on as you're in the role, allows you to learn more and more as you go. You're always learning something new. So
My first degree was actually in counseling, and I worked in a juvenile prison. Okay. And then I went in and got my marketing degree. So I did sales too. You're always selling yourself no matter what role you're in. And somehow I ended up in HR, which is just another sales. So it's always about building those relationships. If you ultimately build those relationships, if you're motivated by financial gains, titles, that'll come.
Yeah, and not to sound like a broken record here, but yeah, that first monthly check, commission check, bonus check is sweet. Just to add another layer to that, though, too, when you can sell for a company that actually provides a solution to a customer, a big book that we have on our sales team that we have all of our new reps read is called the Challenger Sale. The concept behind that book is selling a solution to a customer for a problem that they didn't know that they had. So, it kind of goes hand in hand too with like that excitement of that sale, and you're actually helping a customer achieve their goals, right? If they want to grow, if they want to, cut costs, whatever that is. But it's a pretty cool feeling too when you get paid on that, but then you also help the customer out as well.
And then mine's kind of like a twofold one, one like personal, one more like career wise. And this one I would say wasn't really an aha moment, but really just like the people you work with on a day-to-day basis that really drives like your personal happiness like throughout the week. If you like, I've seen a lot of employees where they just do not like coming in, whether it's as a rep or in our stores, and they just cannot get out quick enough just because the people that they're around just sometimes it's just not a good situation. And but really like me and Tommy are great friends. Like all the people I work with, I'm very close with. Like we hang out all the time. I know some of us are taking off for March Madness. And then kind of like the second one, right now I'm kind of in the process of looking for houses. And as I'm walking through all these, pretty much everything in a home I can now pretty much personally do. So I don't have to hire a contractor of mine. I can do it all. So really, as I've gone through this, pretty much anything like whether it's house related, home improvement, like I kind of now have all those tools at my fingertips to use, and I know all the products, so I know all the right things. So that was kind of an aha moment, like going through a house and saying, well, I could redo all this and maybe flip the value on this home by like $50,000, $60,000. And that's kind of a nice, might not be as nice as the commission check sometimes, but if you can flip that as the market continues to go in a weird direction, might not be a bad thing one day.
All right, so I know you guys have already heard quite a bit of why we've all stuck with our positions and why we like them. Money's nice, everything's nice, but at the end of the day, I mean, for me, it was the recognition, to be recognized for your efforts and your awards and being able to excel into the role. I mean, for example, this past year, I was able to have one of the best years my territory's seen in a while of a 32% sales increase. So being able to get recognition in front of our entire division, I mean, you walk in front of 3,000 people, we're probably working with 150, 200 in here maybe. So I mean, at the level of the corporation, and be recognized for your achievements and your awards, I think that was the biggest thing. Is eye opening to me. But I mean, the awards are nice, the commission's nice. At the end of the day, I think it's the relationships that I've built. I mean, Parker and I, we go golfing on the weekends. We've furthered our relationship outside of work, and I think wherever our careers take us in the future. I mean, I've stuck around since this is my first job out of school. I mean, I didn't start as a sales rep, but to be with the company for 5 years out of school is, I mean, and stay consistent with it and see the career progress and the growth within the role. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Fantastic. Thanks. So kind of closing thoughts. We've got a room full of freshmen to done in 5 or 6 weeks seniors. What advice do you have for soon to graduate college students and college students in general? And we'll close up on that one. Why don't we can start wherever we want. Jake?
I'll start it off. As you graduate and go into the job market, don't just jump at the first thing you see. know your value and know your worth as an employee and as a worker. So, I mean, if it's a great opportunity, that's of course, snag it. But know that you also, as an employee, have value. So you have the option, hopefully, you've put in the work and you did maybe some internships or you're researching, broad scope of jobs. You'll have the option to, you know your value and not need to necessarily just snag the first opportunity you have, unless it's with Regal Rexnord, of course. But just know your worth as an employee and as a worker in the workforce, and yeah, don't get yourself in a situation that you feel forced into if it's not the right fit for you. It's a job. It's 40 hours a week every week or more. You spend a lot of time doing it. So you don't want something. Someone I think mentioned before. You don't want something where you dread going into work every day. That's no way to live. So
I would say two things for you. If you are going to go down the route of sales, be comfortable with rejection. It's going to happen in the sales world. I can promise you there's not a seller out there that has a 100% close rate. So rejection is going to happen. You just have to know it's not personal. It's purely just business. So don't let that affect the next phone call that you make. If you do not close the sale on that phone call and you pick up the phone 10 minutes later and you're still kind of gloomy and gloomy from that, and that energy feeds through to that phone call that you're having with the current customer right now, that's going to affect their process of how they want to potentially buy or sell from you as well. And then my second thing is, I know we've talked about a lot of relationship building externally with the customers and businesses, but don't forget also to network internally as well in the organization that you do end up in. Always knowing who you should go to for certain scenarios is definitely a big beneficial factor that will help streamline the process of the sales. So I mean, in our instance, I'm by no means, if you asked me before I started the SEALs program what a bearing or a gearbox is, I would have no clue. So when the customer or distributor does ask me those kind of more technical questions for their end user, I can shoot that over to our engineers who are specified in that field to help uh, leverage them and my other internal resources to help get those answers quick to the customer. So definitely make sure you are also networking internally as well.
I think kind of piggybacking on what Jake had said, but just keep an open mind when looking for jobs, whether that is sales or something else. Just keep an open mind. Like I said, I graduated from here a year ago and I graduated with marketing and IT. And I had no, like, I didn't think sales was the option for me. I always had this vision that it was always cold calling and I just never wanted to be in that role. And this opportunity came along and I went for it. So don't be afraid to go after something. Even if it does make you uncomfortable, don't be afraid to go after it and just keep an open mind. There's so many jobs out there, and just make sure that it's something that you want to do. And like Jake said, it is a 40-hour job. So just be, open-minded, go past your comfort zones and just be willing to put in the work wherever you do end up going.
Yeah. When you leave the school, you're not done learning. Okay. That's just starting. So you're going to learn a lot in that first couple years in your career. You're going to get knocked around. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. It's going to hurt. Okay. Just find a network, build that team of trust that you can find on and lean on those people. And then just build networks, find a trusted mentor outside of your industry that you're in. Um, just find those people that you can trust and develop and grow. You'll never stop learning.
Yeah, I would just say as well, find your purpose, find your passion. Um, a mistake I made, and I see a lot of reps make it too early on in their careers, just that short-term thinking where, hey, you might want to take the higher base salary, right? That might look more appealing today. But I encourage you guys, look long-term when you're making a career decision, right? Of where that company is going to be, right? Where that growth is, where that advancement is. Prior to Cintas, I was in the fitness industry for 9 years and was beating my projections year over year. And I was dangled a carrot for 5 of those last 9 years. And actually, when I left there, it was funny. They were like, "Hey, you're the next VP. Don't leave." And I was like, "Well, I've been hearing that for 5 years, right?" So I encourage you, keep that long-term vision, right? And make that decision, right? That's gonna be best for your career. Find your purpose, your passion, follow that, and just think long-term with it.
And then I got kind of a twofold one, but I'll be pretty quick with it. The first one being just be a sponge. We kind of mentioned it, like once you get out into the workforce, you're going to kind of constantly be learning things. I mean, and that can extend personal or career driven. If you look at really any of the best companies, entrepreneurs in the world, they're always trying to get better, whether it's personally or in their career or their business. So just kind of always being willing to learn is really a big separator for a lot of people. And then kind of the second point is you are going to fail. You're going to have tough days. You're going to drop the ball at some point. Maybe you're going to handle a situation wrong. It's just life. That's how it goes sometimes. Obviously, we don't want it to go that way, but really how you deal with failure really says a lot about you as a person, and especially once you get into the workforce. People who deal with failure well and learn from it and don't let the mistake happen again, those are the ones who really move on and have great careers.
Um, pretty much everyone said everything I was gonna say, but overall, I mean, just be patient. I mean, you guys are young, or most of you are very young. I wanted to get into a sales rep role right away, and I found out that's what's in the case. But I mean, getting the tools and the resources and the experience. I think the biggest thing is the experience, especially if you are a freshman or a sophomore, is just be a sponge, like Parker was saying, is get as much get as many tools in your tool belt that you can utilize later on in your career, because your career is going to go just stay consistent with one role, or you may take you to a vice president role or a CEO role. So just be cognitive of that. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the biggest learning curve for me was one, I mean, the structure. I think that's the biggest thing is you go to class every day, whether it's in the morning or night, and then at the end of the day, after you graduate, you are pretty much the driver of your own seat. So you're going to go through hard times, you're going to go through good times. That's just how you react to it. That'll show a lot about your character, and if you can stay consistent with it, it'll take you a long way.
I thank you very much to everyone on our panel. We really appreciate the time, the support, and the information. Round of applause for our panelists. I'm going to give it back to Almira. I know she has some announcements for us.
Again, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with our students. I know we all really appreciate it, so thank you again. And then thank you to Dave as well for moderating, and Andy for being the tech guy, because I don't want to do it again. Just a couple announcements. If this QR code didn't work for you guys, please come up to Andy after the meeting's done to sign in so you can get your credit. And then also, again, to reiterate, don't be afraid to come up here and talk to our partners. They're here to talk to you guys. So I'll leave that up for a couple more seconds if anyone needs it. Okay, some quick announcements. We have a scholarship golf outing on June 10th. It's at Evergreen, and if you have any sort of connection to a golf course, or if you're a part of a country club, please stay after and just congregate kind of right up here to have a short little meeting with Noah and Claire. They just want to get some feedback and information from you guys. And then digital marketing certificate is the week we come back on that Wednesday. And then if you want to sign up for board, fill out these board applications. And thank you guys again for coming.